Testing 1 2. Hello, everybody. This is Brother Nero FGC. Long time no see. Haven't done anything in a while. Today we are going to be doing a pretty interesting little project that I have, which is Forever C Rank, the FightCade podcast, which is an idea I've had flowing around for a couple months at this point. And I am extremely lucky that my first guest is going to be very prominent and the most wholesome man on the internet. And our first guest today is Vencabot. Say hello, Venka.
What's up, big dog?
What's going on, homie?
Oh, just vibing. Tonight's the night of the second ever Jazzy online ranking event. So I've got that in the background, just watching some sweet online Third Strike on FightCade. Because you're talking about the FightCade podcast. It's a big night for FightCade Third Strike right now.
Exactly. That's kind of like what I wanted to discuss about it because there's a few like Third Strike centric podcasts, and when it comes to online Third Strike, you're pretty much the go-to, particularly on YouTube and Twitch, for like any kind of resources when it comes to like really good matches and players. You've built up of like a really solid crew of participants in your streams on, and then but you're also not a third strike. You're probably my favorite variety streamer at this point because you do like the
Thank you,
pizza
dude.
pizza and a movie. You do what's the $2 or the $5
Oh, yeah,
independent
$4
game.
game night.
Yeah, 4 night
Yeah,
game
we play
night's
some
really
indie games.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have your nights where you're just sitting there coding and doing couple things, and it's always just fun to just jump in. And but I did want to discuss about how Fightcade in general has become like integral to your stream at this point.
Yes, for sure.
Because when I forget how I found you. I think it was probably just randomly on Twitch. You were streaming one night, but I remember when you were first started streaming that you're primarily on PS3 Online Edition,
Yes.
and that was like and at that point, I because Fightcade has changed over the how long has it been? Over a decade or so it's existed, probably longer than a decade at this point. And I don't remember seeing you ever use the original version of Fightcade.
No, I never used FightCade original. No, I heard a lot of bad things about it. I tried it for one stream and had a very negative experience, so I decided not to keep trying it.
Yeah, because that was gonna be like my first question is like, did you ever have any experiences with the original Fightcade? Because when I first heard about it, it was and talking to players that had been like kind of playing around with it, it's like it's fine, it's good enough for what we want to do, but it's not perfect by any means.
Right.
And
I
so
don't think
when
it's like it is now. Yeah.
Yeah, so when Fightcade upgraded and became Fightcade 2, which had been rumored for like the longest time. Remember when it was a Patreon only, you had to have an invite to even beta test it at one point. And when Fightcade 2 became a thing, you were at that point using 30th anniversary edition, which
Yes, I was.
everybody
Yeah.
which everybody had kind of like begrudgingly had switched over to
Right.
for
Well said.
online play. Yeah, cuz but it was so frustrating because being a third strike player and wanting to be among competitors, be able to play high level players, having to chase the kind of recommended version of third strike for online play was so frustrating for like the beginning part of me trying to be an online player because at first you're recommended to get online edition, but then online edition wasn't perfect. It had its issues as well. Uh, and then moving over to when 30th came out, and then when 30th was out, a lot of people recommended the Steam version when that first came
Right.
out. And then at one point, the Steam version had an update, according to some players, and it
According
just
to Loria.
yeah, and it just went south, and everyone switched to the PS4 version of 30th. And then now, with the upgrade that Fightcade has and had the Fightcade 2 upgraded as it's done, now everyone has just switched over to that version of Third
Yeah,
Strike.
it's very convenient. Very, very
Yeah,
convenient.
it's very convenient. It's very strange. It's like how is a streamer has having to chase like the community essentially? How has that affected you when it comes to your setup?
It was a nightmare, like you described. I'm sure it's that way for every online third strike player. In my case, I was lucky because I never felt the need to chase what the community was doing because ever since the PS3 era, I've kind of found, when I played PS3 OE, that was not the most popular version of that game to play at the time, right?
That,
That was, people were at the time recommending Xbox 360 as like the platform to play on if you were a serious player. And PS2 was kind of like the ugly stepchild of online Third
that
Strike, along with FightCade. I think people consider that the OG FightCade to be a little bit below PS3 OE. That said, no matter what platform you play Third Strike on, If you're streaming Third Strike, I think that you're going to have people come by that want to play, and if you keep streaming it, you're going to have a community build up around your stream because people are looking for people ranked and just fight
Mm-hmm.
1,000 players whenever you want. It's a community that's relatively small, and there are people that are trying to grind. There's people that have been grinding for years that have played every other player that they know a billion times and are looking for somebody new to play with. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're streaming in that Third Strike category on Twitch, you're going to find people come by that say, "Hey, let's play some Third Strike." And again, if you stream that, every week, or at the time I was initially streaming, I was doing it almost every day, Third Strike. And so it gave players a chance to come by and join the channel and expect there to be a stream the next day so that they could have something to rely on, a reliable, feed of Third Strike competition. And yeah, thanks to that early experience, I never really felt like I had to chase the trend. I was trying to get ahead of the trend when I moved to PS4 because my interest in PS4 was that it was a platform that was better for young kids, right? For people that had it was the new platform, the new the new console that you
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to plug in your old Xbox 360 to play Third Strike, right? But
Yeah.
I don't got to tell you that that was a fucking nightmare because of that platform's technical limitations. It was a really shitty version of that game.
Yeah.
Let me actually cancel
Yeah.
this. I supposed to have a YouTube upload going on. I apologize. I'm having any kind of issues with my connection to Discord. There you go. So that should be a little bit better perhaps now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sucked. I mean, going from actually, I'm going to disconnect and reconnect if you don't mind. It'll be
Yeah. Go
like
ahead.
2 seconds here.
No problem. Take your
But
time.
yeah, PS3 was really good to me, and yeah, okay, I'm back now. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
you're right. You're good.
Yeah, so in my experience, PS3 it had its problems, and it's really funny looking back now that I had the experience with PS4. Looking back on PS3 and think about how good we had it back then, but all I could see at the time was, of course, the shortcomings of it. The fact that lobbies would sometimes freeze up, and you had to fucking make a new lobby.
Mm-hmm.
People's pings were reported incorrectly, which is a notorious problem with the PS3 version of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a real pain. And I remember before 30th came out, dude, thinking dude, as long as it's better than 30, as long as it's better than OE, dude, it could be, I don't care. Just be a little better than OE and it'll justify switching to this version. And of course, the 30th version developed by Digital Eclipse, man, that version is so fucking bad. The emulation of the one player experience is not bad. It just uses, as I understand it, stolen code from MAME to run that version. So it runs accurately enough.
Yeah.
But going online, the net code was really, really, really terrible compared to the fact that OE was an early adopter of GGPO. Right? It was one of the first ever console games to exercise GGPO.
That's true.
And we had it so good.
The logo is in the title screen whenever you load up, but GGPO's right there. And I remember when PS4, because when you switched to PS4, it was very frustrating because I didn't have access to a PS4 for the longest time.
Mhm.
And when OE came out and seeing as you said, as a single player or local offline experience, I think it's fine.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
not terrible. It's got a little high input latency, but it is CPS3 Third Strike being emulated. It's not like it's one of the previous, it's not like a Dreamcast, right? It is actually Third Strike. It's a little bit slow.
Yeah, it is actually very Third Strike. And then playing on other versions, like I have 30th on Steam and I have it on Xbox as well. And finding that the offline experience is a little bit better on Xbox and Steam compared to the PS4 version, but it's not it's by inches. It's you're just kind of debating on kind of granular levels of what is better on those versions. But seeing you struggle with 30th anniversary version and seeing the community kind of all kind of be disappointed in that port uh, was a kind of a rude awakening for when it came to Third Strike Online because it was so difficult already to begin with to play Third Strike Online with friends. And then going back to OE, yes, it was compared to 30th, the superior version because it was a Third Strike focused port of Third Strike. It wasn't just a collection of ROMs that just had to happen to have online play. And seeing how your issues with the lobby system was a big deal for your channel for both versions. I think it was more prominent on the PS4 version.
Yes, by far. I mean, that version was so shitty. The fact that you couldn't watch matches, right? As a streamer, even if you all right, let me make this not so personal, right? Let's say you're not a streamer.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, let's say you're playing Third Strike casually online, trying to level up, and you're in a lobby that maxes out. Mind you guys, 30th anniversary maxes out at 4 players in a lobby.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas OE before it maxed out at 8 players. And, the Vencabot Bruce Day streams, we would have 8 players in there every fucking, week. It's not hard to find 8 guys to play online Third Strike with you, trust me. And so the fact that we only could have 4 at a time and 30th was already a pain in the ass. But let's say you're grinding at home, trying to level up. You have 6 friends that want to play Third Strike. Well, you can't play with all of them in one lobby because it only holds 4 people. But even then, you can't watch the sets when it's not your turn because there was a very, very prominent bug in 30th where, I would say roughly, 40% of the time, you just wouldn't be able to spectate the match. It would just glitch out. You wouldn't be able to watch. So that's a pain in the ass. Another thing, if you can't watch, a lot of the time, those people, when the set's over, they will not rotate correctly in the lobby. So it doesn't matter who won or lost, they fight again. Right? Oh my god, dude! Like
Yeah,
real
I remember those.
annoying bugs in that version. And yeah, they really made the bugs in PS3 OE look like nothing in comparison. Like you mentioned, it was a really tough time for the scene. It was like Digital Eclipse and Capcom came through and just placed a hex over the whole scene online, I should say, because like you said, it was a hard enough time as it was. You had people on PS3 and on Xbox 360 and on FightCade, the OG FightCade, and the community is splintered that way. And then we have this new promising version coming out on the modern platforms, and all the new kids can get into it because it's on their platform they have at home. And that was really cool. And all they really succeeded in doing was taking an already fractured online community and just make it 10 times more fractured.
Yeah,
because like you said, not only are they fractured between 30th and FightCade and OE, but they're fractured between the various versions of 30th. Right, the Steam version, the Xbox version, the PS4 version, whatever, and
the Switch version. Imagine
right,
people playing on the Switch, which has no unless you buy an adapter, there's no hard wired Ethernet on that. You literally have to play on Wi-Fi, which is like, oh my god. But people bought their 30th anniversary for what it was. It was rather successful in sales wise.
Oh, I'm sure that it was.
Yeah,
and I'm grateful all the time that it brought a lot of players into the game that I've personally have had the privilege of getting to know, and they've been a boon to my life. So that's something that I'm gonna always be appreciative to that game for, because it was a chance to bring new people into Third Strike. It succeeded in that respect, but we were, by the end of after a couple of years, we were looking for any way to get off that platform. We were looking at going back to PS3 again.
Yeah.
But it was hard to go back to PS3 because all the friends you made on PS4, they might not have PS3s, right? So it was a huge pain in the ass in terms of how it fractured the community. And I remember in that era, we were flirting with going back to PS3. There was these whispers of FightCade 2. And at that point, because of the company that I keep, I had a very negative opinion of FightCade 1. I don't have that much first-hand experience with it, but a lot of my friends had very negative experience with the FightCade, the OG FightCade. And so when I heard about FightCade 2, didn't have very high hopes. I mentioned before, I tried it one time and had a very negative net play experience with somebody who the ping seemed not that high to me. But then when we fought, it was a really nasty, connection and glitchy. You could say the jail bars thing notoriously on the OG FightCade with Third Strike, where you'd have blinds over your screen. That was a pain in the ass. And I was like, you know what, fuck FightCade, I'm not gonna try this shit. It doesn't seem to work that well. But I remember there was a big push in the community when that was getting first teased. I was seeing memes on Third Strike Junkies, etc. of like, hey, this will be the platform that's going to unite all the online Third Strike players, right? Let's fucking put aside our OEs and our 30ths and all this stuff. Let's all play on FightCade 2. And it was like, man, it's just another platform. It's just one more platform in the mix that's going to make things even more complicated to know which version to play on. And I'm grateful that, although there are many that will argue that FightCade 2 has had kind of a bumpy experience in terms of its development since it went public, I think it's very fair to say that FightCade 2 is a super, super excellent way to play online Third Strike. I personally don't believe there is a better way to play online Third Strike. There are those that are still arguing that we should all go back to Xbox 360 OE, but I think on a technical level, it's hard to argue that. Maybe on a subjective, anecdotal, personal level, there are those that have had more fun or even a better technical experience on 360 OE than they do on FightCade 2 now. But I think that if you look at it in terms of the technology, FightCade 2 is the superior version. It's a version that is just like PS3 and Xbox 360 OE. It uses real GGPO for its rollback. And unlike with any version of OE, it's a true emulation of CPS3. It's not some custom version that was made just for those platforms. It's an actual CPS3 emulation, so it's 100% accurate to the offline experience in terms of its, the game's mechanics, I should say. And yeah, of course, recently they slowed the game down a little bit, much to my initial chagrin. I was one of the naysayers when the FightCade staff came out and said, hey, we're lowering the game's frame rate from 60 FPS down to 59.94 FPS. And I was like, well, dude, you can't do that because it's going to cause, frame pacing issues because the monitors we're playing on, are 60 FPS. So you can't have a 59.94 FPS game play on a 60 FPS monitor and expect it to be totally smooth. It's going to have frame pacing problems. And what I ended up doing was, to prove my point, I took some gameplay footage when they slowed the game down and analyzed it frame by frame to
Mm.
prove that there was going to be frame pacing problems. And when I did that, I realized that I'm fucking right. Fucking know my shit. Except I didn't anticipate how minor those frame pacing problems would be in actual gameplay. When you're having one frame double up every like 120 frames, it's not, you don't notice it at all. It's just a single frame. And of course, it's fair to say that the more you play a game like Third Strike, the more a single frame matters and is noticeable. And that's sort of like the basis of my initial argument. But when you see it actually in practice, one out of every 120 frames doubling up, uh, I think that what we've seen over the past year or so since this change was made is that slowing down FightCade has been huge. It's been huge because it brings us one step closer to parity with offline timing. So now the game runs the same speed both online and off, and the only difference is the input latency difference between a real CPS3 and whatever PC you're playing on. So that's pretty impressive. And I think that, of course, one more thing that FightCade 2 has over OE, which also runs at 60 FPS no matter what.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's FightCade 2 has been a very, very positive experience for me. You could say things about how they handle their Patreon, but outside of that, it's an open source project. It uses open source emulators, and the FightCade team, I believe, makes all their their code open source as well. And yeah, it's super, super sick. I think that it has sort of become the de facto version of 3S to play for online players for good reason.
Yeah, that's very true because like I think FightCade 2 and it because when it first came out, it was a little cumbersome how to set it up for me
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not very techy, so it takes a little bit of working around and
Yes,
stuff.
that's worth
But
mentioning as well.
but seeing how like, that was always like kind of like the barrier of entry for a lot of players is like
Yeah.
they either don't have a PC or a laptop they think is good enough. Although at this point, like FightCade can run out of potato, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. But the technical knowledge of trying to find your ROMs, trying to find the
Right.
right ROMs, trying to find the
From the right
correct versions
folder.
of right
Yeah.
folders, all that kind of stuff. Thank God for the JSON download to get the
Yes.
ROM packs, which is such a godsend for anybody that's
It's
trying to use it.
amazing.
It's
It's
so
amazing.
good. It's such a great way to do it now.
The guy is the Kofi, by the way. I support this guy's Kofi, and
Yeah,
best money I ever spent, dude. Like
that's so good.
that that piece of software. It's so simple. It's so simple. You just take this one file and put it in this one folder on Fike. Also, shout out to the FightCade devs for making this a possibility, right? The
Yeah,
fact that FightCade does piece of software supports the fact you can have this JSON file. Very cool idea. And then thank you to the guy that created that JSON file. So now you can also keep it updated so that you can just put that one time in one folder and then have access to all the the games that FightCade has to offer. So sick.
exactly. And then having experience with FightCade 1 and going back and thinking about it, it's like, yes, you had the jail bar issue, which was a major issue on a lot of my streams when I was streaming at the time. There was just a mystery when it came to like, like your ping. It could be
Mhm.
great, it could be great, it could be it could be terrible if you just had to kind of risk your luck on that kind of situation too. And then also like having the games like each community felt very archaic when it came to each game. Like, because obviously Third Strike is like one of the most popular games to be played on FightCade, but
Right.
there's other games like Alpha Two, Super Turbo, Hyper Fighting gets a lot of love. The KOF games get a lot of love on FightCade. But now having the option to play some of the most obscure things that you've never thought of on FightCade. Like me and a friend were playing Michael Jackson's Moonwalker on FightCade the other day because
Nice.
it's just so much fun, and the wealth of games that are now available for everybody is such a godsend for that program. It's so good. It's like I was gonna ask you, it's like, do you ever play anything other than Third Strike? Is that the main game? Besides, I know you've dabbled in Virtua Fighter a few times.
Yeah, VF is the game that got me into FTC. I'm pretty proud of my experience with VF and my the level I've reached in that game. I'm pretty proud of. But you're right, I haven't played it in a very long time. Seriously, no, I only play Third Strike. It's my only fighting game that I play. Nor have I ever played any other game on FightCade.
Hmm.
Although I've heard a lot of positive things. Of course, I've played NetPlay in a lot of different emulators, including utilizing the RetroArch front end for NetPlay, which at the time seemed like it was going to be very hard to top. in terms of the net play experience across various emulators and games and stuff.
Hmm.
But FightCade makes it so easy. It makes it
Yeah.
so easy to play online. There's really no. I don't think that there's any. I'm a huge emulation fanatic. I don't think that there's any emulator or package out there that has an experience as seamless as FightCade does for playing retro games with a homie.
Yeah, that's very true. Because I know RetroArch is a bit cumbersome when it comes to like setting things up, and then
Yes.
I know wasn't it a way like you played NetPlay was like it constantly created save states for both of you at one point.
Yeah, same way that FightCade works. It creates save states so that, and then it can roll back. That's how the rollback works. Based on any retro game that implements GGPO, it does
Hmm.
it using save states.
Okay.
There was
That's.
recently a really big. I don't think that Third Strike implements this yet, but there was a huge innovation in
Hmm.
how GGPO works. It's like a GGPO 2 that is able to take that old style of saving states and rolling back to them as necessary. After years of people trying to find solutions, you think that all the solutions had already been found, but I think it was now probably like 3 years ago that somebody found a new way um, to compress these save states so that you're not saving as much data per frame. Like, I don't know the fine details of it. All I know is that the basics is that it's able to compress the save state so that you're not saving. I guess here's the idea. The way it works, as I understand it, it's only saving the things that change, which it seems obvious, but I guess it's pretty hard to implement in terms of design.
Hmm.
So that from a frame by frame basis, the emulator is only saving the memory differences from the last frame. And as a result, because you're not committing as much of the game's memory into your computer's memory every frame, it drastically reduced the amount of performance requirement for GGPO style rollback in emulators. And as a result, that year we saw rollback come to a ton of new things, including Naomi stuff, and we're
Yes.
seeing rollback for Virtua Fighter 4, Virtua Fighter 3, and all kinds of other 3D games that before it was just impossible to roll back because there's just too much data. Compared to the retro games of the 16 and 32-bit eras, these 3D games just had too much memory in memory at a time to save it every single frame on a modern PC. And so we saw that this style of hacking rollback into a retro game just didn't work for anything that was I mean CPS3 is kind of pushing it. That's part of why FightCade, its net play is notoriously higher performance. It requires a stronger PC than you would think. They said earlier that it can run on Payton. That's true. FightCade can run on a very weak PC, especially offline. But
Hmm.
once you go online, you might find to your surprise that your old laptop from 10 years ago might not be quite enough all the time to run online Third Strike because of the fact that CPS3 is a very sophisticated platform. And although its games were two-dimensional, it comes out in an era where this was on that level of like a PlayStation 2, basically.
Yeah. So,
So yeah, it's kind of hard to run it. But the fact that it's a 2D game makes it simpler. But in these 3D games, they were just so hard to emulate with rollback. And now we see those games finally getting rollback, and I'm really excited for those communities.
yeah, I can attest to that because my old laptop could run Third Strike and run a lot of the CPS3 stuff and everything. But when it came to Naomi, it would just not run properly at all. If it wouldn't run or just not run at all. Like
Yeah.
it was just really bad. Now with my current PC, I can attest to this. Like I've played Power Stone online. I've
Oh,
played
sweet.
uh Project Justice Survival Schools online. I haven't
Sweet.
tested around with the PlayStation 1 stuff that's apparently coming through.
Yeah,
Like
Duck
I
Station.
I know a lot of people are like are really hopeful for the Bloody War games to be
Yes.
online now, which is another great thing. Like and again it's a testament to what Fightcade itself has become because like I said, all of these smaller niche gaming communities now have a place to go to play their game because
Right.
I know that the puzzle games have a huge community like Twinkle Star Sprites and Bubble Bobble. Those guys, like I would never play Katie and Star Sprites ever again. That man murdered me,
Yeah.
and everything like that. And like Fightcade has become such a prominent program for online Third Strike that is now trusted to run Jazzy Circuit online events, which is
Yeah.
new for this
And
year, right?
offline events
And offline events. You
for
can
the
now
first time ever. Yeah.
so you can use Fightcade as an offline.
Yes, you could
That
run a
option?
local on a PC on FightCade with in Jazzy Season 5.
That is insane. I didn't know that part. I knew the online stuff was like brand new for this year.
Yes.
So now FightCade emulation is now considered a viable option for offline events as well. That's
Yes.
great.
Yeah. So you could run your Jazzy ranking event on a laptop, supposing that all the people that are in attendance are down for that.
Yeah, that's really great actually. I did not know that. I knew the online stuff was coming. Like you said, there's a online jazzy event tonight. There's a few more coming up at the end of the month. I know Austin has an offline event coming up this weekend for Arcade UFO, and like it's an exciting time for Jazzy Circuit for sure. This is season which one? 4?
5. We're on
So
season
this
5 now.
so
Yeah.
you're season 5, and I know the Jazzy Illuminati are probably gonna listen. I'll say hi to them. But yeah, it's like it's such a great option now that, and you've come a long way, especially for you, because I remember I dug up your first episode of Third Strike Online on YouTube. Say because again, Venka has all of his back catalog of all the Bruise Day Tuesdays are available on YouTube. I think they're about a year, a little couple months maybe behind,
Yes, they're about a year behind now
but
still.
about a year behind. But there's a wealth of there's just nothing but Third Strike available online to watch for this community that Venka's grown. And like you have some very solid players who just kind of blew up and are blowing up recently now. Like I know Three Venge. When I first started playing Three Venge, like we would go back and forth neck to neck. There's a few matches on my YouTube channel of with him as well. And now he's just a monster. He is an
Yeah.
online monster now. It's
This
so
Wi-Fi Kai
crazy.
at this brutal dojo.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi Kai guys. I know the RBM, the Run Back
Yes.
Machine guys as well. Uh, all these like FightCade has become a place where like now there's like online rivalries between little
Yeah,
dojos, which
YGA.
is
Don't forget YGA. You know,
the YGA.
there's a lot of dojos that their players take the game seriously. They grind with each other, and that's part of what makes Jazzy Online so exciting. I was saying earlier in the Twitch chat of Southeast Throwdown, who are running that event tonight, that that when you see Three Venge versus Nika on stream,
Hmm.
it justifies to me it justifies the existence of Jazzy Online. This is something that we debated since season 1. Of course, everyone knows that a game that has that niche appeal of Third Strike, whose player base is not the biggest of all the fighting games out there. Of course, ever since Jazzy first started, we've asked ourselves, can we do Jazzy Online? Can we get online Third Strike as a part of this? And the logistics is just too much. Like running online tournaments is extremely challenging. The fact that you have to contend with all kinds of challenges that are not the same offline
Hmm.
made it not really a possibility. And over the years, we've continuously re-examined it every season. Is this the year we're gonna do online stuff? This is the year we finally decided to do it, and it wasn't an easy decision. It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
I was one of the guys that was not signing off on it. I was like, "This is not the year. I'm not ready for this year."
Mm.
But we discussed it, and I was brought on board, and I said, well, if we're doing it, then I want to be a big part of it. I want to help organize it. I want to be that guy because I think that I've got a lot of experience running online tournaments and stuff.
Hmm.
And if it's going to happen, then I want to make it. I want to do it right. And now we're seeing, and that was months and months ago. We've been cooking this up, and now we're seeing the payoff. The season has started. We've seen one Jazzy online event. Now the second one is finishing up like right now. And going to this stream, Southeast Throwdown tonight, and seeing Three Venge fight Nika, I was like, okay, this is why Jazzy Online exists, right? Because now we've got Wi-Fi Kai Three Venge, who is a Bruise Day Tuesday player, a Wi-Fi Kai player, somebody who hasn't had the opportunity to really travel for Third Strike and to play national strong players. And now he's fighting Nika, who's a player who grinds on 3S a lot, grinds on FightCade a lot, and I'm appreciative of that, but he's
Hmm.
not necessarily always available to come out to streams to fight beginners and intermediates. And seeing Three Venge have the chance to test himself against Nika is fantastic. And then seeing, we saw, you weren't watching, but we had Neiman versus, what up Neem versus number one Shark,
Hmm.
right? Number one Shark from Twitch.tv says number one Shark. He's a regular 3S streamer who plays a Denjin Ryu. And his Ryu, like everybody on Fightcade, had been leveling up like crazy. Like he joined Bruise Day last night, and he was looking so sick. And to see him have the chance to fight Neem on a Jazzy online event, again to me watching that, I was like, okay, this makes me glad we're doing this season because this is going to be so sick.
Yeah, it opens the up a possibility because yeah, like you said, it's like travel is an issue for some players. I don't get to travel too often because I don't have a vehicle, and Houston is a gigantic city. It's like
Yes.
we're an hour away from everywhere, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. Uh, on occasion, I can make it out to Austin. Have made it a goal this year to make it to the Arcade guys because those guys are really killer. And I also plan to go to Illinois for possibly Combo Breaker and to go meet my Arigamu Battle Crew people because I love those dudes. And but yeah, like the possibilities of matchups now, and like the Bruce Tuesday regulars. You have, like you said, What Up Neem, Number One Shark. You have Envy. You have Goss. You have Big Nasty. You have like Herb Durkin, the Pow God. You have all these like amazing players that are just always on your sets and streams. And again you are the most like wholesome man on the internet to me because you're so welcoming. Because when FightCade One was a thing, the two things that are often said about FightCade One, the original, was one, that it wasn't a very good experience to play on, and two, the communities on there were very toxic. Let's just say it out
Yeah.
loud. They were just like just incredibly just negative towards any kind of new player. They would find out you were new and they would just like dunk on you as best they can. And it wasn't like the experience that everybody has, but that is an experience that a lot of people have told me about the original Fightcade, and I experienced it as well. And seeing now, especially for your stream, I've never seen an instance where you've had a negative player or reaction with anybody. We've never had any. There's shit talk, of course. Like
Right.
that's a whole other thing. There's the rivalries that are built on your stream and on using Fightcade are very friendly, are very encouraging, are in very like just a very good standard of playing that you've raised the bar for so many players now, and then you're also very welcoming when it comes to new players that are coming in, and the importance of Fightcade now. How do you feel like the importance of Fightcade is now to a new, never played a fighting game in their life, and they saw this really cool thing on the internet and they want to try out for a third strike?
Yeah, it's indispensable, dude. For one thing, it's piracy, right? Which means that it's free.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that anyone who wants to play Third Strike can play Third Strike thanks to hackers like those that developed Final Burn Neo, the emulator that FightCade runs Third Strike on, and the FightCade devs who went on to implement a really solid lobby system and a way to play Final Burn Neo online with friends, right? So this is something that anyone can get into for free and dip their toe into and see how they like it, right? So I think that in that respect, FightCade is phenomenal. I mean, dude, we're fucking old men, dog. Like
Mm-hmm.
you and me, dude, we out here with our every day looking in the mirror and going, man, these grays are coming in stronger.
They
And
are.
dude, like in our era, you can't just fucking play an arcade game at home whenever you fucking feel like it, right? You can't just say, I'm gonna fucking boot up Third Strike and just play some Third Strike on actual, high quality CPS emulation with other players, not
Mm-hmm.
against a CPU, right? Against other actual players.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, we got to count our blessings that we live in an era where, and we look out in the scene, we look at the various jazzy finales over the various seasons, right, and see that a lot of people showing up, fucking kids, dog. They're
Mm-hmm.
kids who might not have even been alive when Third Strike came out because they just thought this would be a fun thing to get into, and it's free, right? There's no barrier to entry. You can just fucking come play. And that's why I always tell people on stream that are watching Bruise Day, just come play, man. Like, why not? Like, just install the game, get some games in. You're going to get bodied. It's that kind of a game. It's a game that really rewards experience and which is profoundly deep that it's going to take you years to appreciate on a level that'll help you get some wins started. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
down to take some lumps, there's no reason not to come play because it's a fun ass game to play. It's a fun game to lose in. And it's a fun game. And for me, the funnest part is meeting people, right? You come into this game and you might get bopped, you might get bodied, you might get frustrated. Let me rephrase that. You're gonna get bopped, you're gonna get bodied, and you're gonna get frustrated.
Oh yeah, that's
It's a
very true.
frustrating ass game. It's a frustrating ass game. But the people you're gonna meet are gonna make you glad that you did because they're people that are gonna be giving you advice, mentorship. They're gonna be getting you games. They're gonna be, people that you're gonna be grateful to know. And one thing about having these grays come in so strong, dude, sometimes it's not so easy to make friends, right? We live in a time where we're out here working, 48 hours a week, and it can be hard to
Mm-hmm.
make time for what they call third place, right? People say that in previous generations before, before things went so fucking haywire in the Western world and beyond, I'm sure, there was this idea of a third place, right? You would have your home, which is your first place, your work, or your second place, but you have your third place, right? That's your fucking library. That's your bar. That's your arcade. That's the place that you go to escape, the stresses of work and the mundanity of home, right? It's a place where you can socialize with people and sort of explore the world through a perspective that's not just your own, right? When you're at home just vibing, I'm gonna tell you this, dude. I know you're a lot like me. You spend a lot of time at home, and it can really mess up your perspective
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes you need that extra person there to help you appreciate that what's going on in your mind and your emotions. That's not all there is. Because if you don't have somebody there to intercept that, it can seem very much like that's all there is, right? It's yourself, it's your emotions, it's your feelings, it's what you're going through, it's your stresses. And if you don't have a place to escape from those, it can be hard to get away. And I think that what online gaming offers this new generation of players in Third Strike and beyond, it's not just, I really get frustrated when people are like, oh, I'm gonna go fucking just grind ranked and fight strangers and reach master rank, and that's what my goal is. Like, that's not the fucking goal, man. Use these platforms as a way to reach out and join a community. Again, this is our generation's third place. We're out here, we're not going to fucking university anymore. We're
Mm-hmm.
not high school students. We don't have that thing to get us out and meeting new people. We have our house and we have our work. So the fact that we have online Third Strike as an opportunity to meet new people, for me, that's the main thing. That's the main appeal of not just a game like Third Strike, but something like Jazzy, right? The fact that Jazzy's ambition is to grow Third Strike as a game, to grow appreciation of Third Strike, to get people to come out. The fact that it's a system that ties together not only offline events but now online events, such that they have like this shared momentum toward other events and toward the Jazzy finale. It's a way to say, come out and play. No matter if you're young or old, come out and play. Right? Don't just grind and ranked. Don't just have your group of 3 friends that you play with. Come out and play. Meet some people. Shake some hands. Say GGs. Get bopped. Right? Whatever you're doing, this is a chance to make it more because it's not just you. It could be a whole community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from the beginning, that was my ambition with Bruise Day Tuesday, was to make it a place that, yeah, we're playing Third Strike, but more importantly than playing Third Strike, we're being friendly. We're sharing camaraderie. Where it's a place where you can come and appreciate that people are going to be happy to see you. And I think that that's indispensable, in our generation, in our era.
That's very true, boss man. That's really cool. I know your time is a little bit limited tonight, so I have one question, but I did field a question from Katie Alpha, so I'll ask mine first and Katie's because it'll be a little bit off topic. Since it's the new year, it's 2024. We are about a third of the first way into our first month of 2024. What is your goals and ambitions for Bruise Day Tuesday moving forward in 2024?
It's a kind of an awkward question to answer because, as somebody whose channel is reliant on online Third Strike, it's interesting that, well, I'll put it this way. My goal is to try to build up momentum toward the Jazzy online events,
Mm-hmm.
right? One thing that I'm realizing I'm having to be considerate of is I don't want to run events in the first half of 2024 that are making players too exhausted to then play in a Jazzy Online event. So I think that, and to be clear, I'm not going to be running Jazzy Online this season.
Yeah.
My hope with this project is to put shine onto other channels that are growing their Third Strike communities, and so I'm thinking of Bruise Day as a chance to grind, to level up, to get some advice, and to sort of be that gateway that's going to build players' confidence so they can enter Jazzy Online. That's my number one thing right now with Bruise Day. And beyond, the Jazzy finale, I would just love it if the Bruise Day events could be even better organized. Every year I have this fantasy of having more software that can make larger events more exciting for everybody that comes by and plays on Bruise Day. We've dabbled with that in the past, and sometimes you find you have more than 32 players in an event, and you don't want that to run for more than 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
But sometimes it's hard because you're running a format that not every TO is going to be prepared to like help you with. One thing I'm really grateful about is that the Bruce Day community is always so willing to help, not just in terms of offering to be like an assistant TO, but also the fact, you probably noticed this before, the players, dude, they always make it so easy on me to run these events.
that's very true.
Like it's not always the case. Like, anyone who's been a TO before knows that's not always the case, right?
Yeah, that's
Like
very
the
true.
players in your scene can make it a nightmare to run events. But in my case, they're always doing their best. They're bending over backwards to make these events happen. And shout out to everybody that plays on Bruise Day. But I would love it if in 2024 I could make it even easier for everybody involved to get involved in these larger scale events.
That's very true, especially when you are kind of like prolific for like experimenting with formats. You have the Civil Wars, you have the Community Ladder, you have the Star Bellies versus the Plain Bellies. You have all these
Yeah.
different team events and things. And yeah, you are very true. Like all the players in Brutus Day Tuesday are more than willing to try out the new format, help you try to dictate any problems that go through. And yeah, they're one of the nicest communities that's ever on online for sure.
Yeah, I'm extremely lucky.
Yeah, it's really cool, boss man. And then also, last question, and I know you got to go because you got your stream coming up tonight. Katie Alpha has a very specific question for you. He wants to know what is your top three anime intros of all time.
Dude, anime intros of all time is a hard question to answer, man. You know
That
about
is
as
a
much
hard
anime as I
one.
do?
I know.
Okay. Geez. Intros alone, dude. I watched a really great anime recently called Food Wars. Dong, this show is so fucking good, dude.
That's a very high tier show. I haven't watched all of it, but I among my friends that is one of those shows that everybody just jumps on. Food Wars is
Dude,
like a high tier one.
I can't believe like all you hear about it is that A, it's Shonen Jump, which of course doesn't have the best reputation among adult viewers,
Oh
and
yeah.
two, it's got a lot of boobies. Dude, it's for sure a super horny, anime compared to its peers. But
Hmm.
if you guys are considering watching it, don't let that scare you off, guys. It's got a fantastic plot, a fantastic cast of characters. It's got some of the most emotional and profound writing I've seen in a shonen. Like it really has risen the bar for that genre for me. And
Hmm.
yes, it's definitely got a lot of let's say fan service that might not make it appropriate for all audiences. That being said, dude, also some very great intros, like some
Yeah.
super great intros in Food Wars. Um, for me, right off the top of my head, I would say that pick one. Like pick an entry from the Food Wars intros. They're great. There's one I think it's called Cronus. Let me look it up on Google real quick.
Hmm.
There's one called Cronus. If you guys haven't seen this intro yet, check it out. I'm gonna do a search for Food Wars Cronus. Is that what this intro is called? Yes, Cronus is the season 4 intro.
Yeah.
Probably the best intro in the series, and probably one of the better anime opening songs. Uh, Another one, dude. Right now, Nero, I'm watching this anime called Cardcaptor Sakura, dude, from
Yes, that's
the
that's a
mid
classic.
'90s.
That's a
Dude,
classic.
great intro. I guess they're
Hmm.
gonna change the intro at some point. I'm still in the first season, but super iconic intro. Very poppy little song. The outro is even better, but we're only talking intros here. Yeah, guys, check out Cardcaptor Sakura. Um,
That was one of the
other,
that was one of
yeah.
the four kids intros. So that was like one of the funny ones that I know you're watching the original intro, but like the four kids intro is kind of notorious for that one.
Oh yeah,
It's so
yeah.
great.
Card captors. Yeah, and I guess if I had to pick one more, it would be totally unfair, and for me to fucking hoe out my friend Katie and not pick something from Monogatari. Again, pick one. Monogatari is notorious for having the best intros of any anime series,
Hmm.
and it consistently like they change it every arc, and every arc outdoes the last. If you guys are down for really fascinating anime with some excellent music, check out Monogatari.
That's great, boss man. I thank you so much for your time. It's always great to have you on and be able to hang out with you every once in a
Thank you for
while.
inviting me, man. This is really an honor.
Yeah, I'm trying to do this thing as a little bit more often. I already have guest two already set down. I got to find guest three, and I'm not sure what the time schedule is on this yet. But again, I'm so very grateful you're my first guest on this show, and it was so awesome for you to pop in. Let everybody know where they can find you online.
Oh yeah, guys, I'm twitch.tv/Vencabot. I stream 5 nights a week, Monday through Friday. Tuesday is our third strike night. I'm also on Mastodon, guys. It's mastodon.online/@Vencabot. Just search for Vencabot on Mastodon.online. You'll find me.
And then his entire back catalog of Thursday
Oh yeah,
Tuesdays are on YouTube as well.
yeah. It's youtube.com/Vencabot archive. There's more than 1,000 episodes of Third Strike and another 2,000 of other stuff. It's like Nero pointed out, it's a variety stream, so there's all kinds of stuff on there. including other fighting games, including some Virtua Fighter, including an episode of Hyper Fighting
Yeah,
is
the,
on there.
the random episode of Hyper Fighting is like
Yeah, you're in
great.
that episode, right?
Yeah, I'm in that
You're
with
like,
with Mutant, I think as well. It's so
yes.
great.
Dude, that was one where Mutant did his fucking Tatsumaki impression. Oh
And
my god.
I also highly recommend Pizza in a Movie if you want to have a good time watching movies. I know you had some issues with some of the copyrights that pop up, but there's
Oh,
still
those
such
motherfuckers.
I know, but there's still such a great like wealth of great movies on there too. So it's still good to keep track of. So, and again, Venka, thank you so much for your time, boss man.
Dude, thank you, man. Again, it was a huge honor.
Yeah, super fun, man. Thank you so much. You have a good night streaming.
Thank you, man. You too. Have a good evening.